Viewers at home, welcome to NJ Talk Show, a spirit-filled show. I am your host, Obuli. We are so blessed, we are so honored today. We are with Mike Klink, who is the program director at American Corner, Cape Town. Mike Klink, welcome to NJ Talk Show.
Good afternoon, Nombolelo, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's been a long time getting to this point for the interview, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I know we've been expecting you since 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we've been trying as you are a busy man and because of the situation of lockdown and so on. So thank you so much for availing yourself to be at NJ Talk Show. It's an honor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, please, Mike, can you introduce yourself to our viewers at home? Who is Mike Klink?
So, my name is Mike Klink, as you said. I serve as director and program manager of the Medical Corner Cape Town. I'm also an employment readiness coach and I'm also a startup business coach. So, if you're looking at professional development and coaching, I'm very, very keen in celebrating that particular culture because professional development equals economic empowerment and human rights and supporting human dignity. So that's very important.
Wow. Okay, wow, thank you so much, Mike. Can you please tell our viewers at home, what is Job Readiness Program?
So one of the key programs that I've been focusing on in the Medical Corner Cape Town and also so the Medical Corner Cape Town has been open for 5 years.
Okay.
And we've been addressing this employment readiness support, free employment readiness support or job readiness for 5 years in the Medical Corner Cape Town, here at Central Library in Cape Town.
Yes.
But in Central Library itself, I've been doing employment readiness programs since March 2009. So it's 11 years this year that will be that we're doing this free programming support because South Africans and citizens of Cape Town, even global citizens, need to understand that to be competitive in the world of work, you have to be educated and informed and understand the world of work and business. If you understand that particular culture, then you're able to communicate and engage more effectively so that you are more able to succeed. So planning, strategy, education and skills development are key in this particular conversation of employment readiness or job readiness or shortened job readiness program, JRP.
Okay. So can you please explain to our viewers at home about CVs?
So let's take a little quick step back in the narrative. If you're looking at core skills for developing professional competitive strategies when you're looking for work, for me, employment readiness is not just saying, oh, I want to have a job, I need a job, I need to put food in my stomach and my family's stomach and the roof over my head, I need to be safe and secure. To me, it's not just about, oh, there's the job and let's look for a job or job hunt. For me, employment readiness and job readiness is a strategy and a plan to say, let me manage myself into that job, let me manage myself into that career space, let me be sustainable with my skills so that I remain relevant and competitive. So now getting back to your question. So if you're looking at the JRP program, our core focuses are how to improve your CV and cover letter, how to create your CV and cover letter, looking how to manage your brand, engagement with, example, social media. So you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram. What are you posting on there? And if you're putting content on that particular platform, which is a tool, we manage social media. We shouldn't allow social media to manage us if we are engaging professionally.
Yes.
And what you're doing then is you're creating a public relations exercise and a brand exercise So people want to actually work with you professionally. So you must remember that what content you're putting on social media is a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
And so people look at it and go, okay, I'm looking at your CV. I've seen your references that you put on there. But let me look at what you're putting on social media, because that's also a reflection of the person you're going to be bringing into our work and our career space and our company ecosystem. And does that actually match what you're saying on paper versus your expression? And then we also look at questions that are managed in job interviews, and we also look at how to look for work, where to look for work, how to position yourself accordingly. And then one of the main aspects of this program is what we call the mock interview. So the mock interview is you've now looked at those questions, key questions, when you're going into an interview. What we then do is we ask you those questions. First, write down the answers. I listen to how you are expressing those answers, articulating. Then we start editing, fine-tuning, unpacking how you answer those questions, why you answering the questions in that way, why are you particularly using certain words in a particular manner, so that when you are going into this interview, you have a polished professional communication and conversation.
Wow.
And people want to hire people who are professional. When you're looking for a job, it's important for you to be earning that wage or that particular skill set experience so you can achieve your goals.
Yes.
But companies who are looking to hire you are looking, how are you going to benefit that company? And you must be able to communicate that benefits to them.
Wow.
So a job offer or a job invitation, whether it be in the newspaper, on the internet, it's a professional invitation to you, the job seeker. And you as a job seeker have a professional duty to yourself to do justice to yourself and say, I need to answer those questions professionally. And a lot of people don't look at that as a professional communication. And so if we can educate you in the professional communication of CV, cover letter, and interview, and how you're positioning your brand, you then are more competitive and you have a better opportunity when you're competing against other job seekers.
Wow.
It's a lot of work to do.
Yes.
to be successful. But the culture of being successful means you must put in the work. You must put in the skills development, the education, the homework. Also part of that is you must be able to take a step back and say, wait, I'm doing too much. Let me take a breather.
Well, viewers at home, I hope you are having your pen and the paper as Mike is explaining. Can Mike, you explain, I know in your modules you also have cover letters.
Yeah, so as we are in the American corner, and so part of the expression of language means that if you look at South Africans will use the word curriculum vitae or CV. South Africans use the word cover letter. Americans may use the word motivation letter. So what you're looking at is when you're looking for work and you're choosing not to put a cover letter forward. And again, a CV and a cover letter are marketing tools, right? So you're professionally responding. And one of the things that we unpack in a CV and cover letter workshop, we revisit this vocabulary is you need to understand what business needs from you.
Yes.
You need to understand why business is asking those questions of you. And if you know why and you know how to communicate those answers to those questions successfully, then you'll be invited to the interview. And sometimes what happens is an assessment is being done of the CV. So in the job invitation, the job offer that's put into the media or the newspaper or the social, on the website, there's a criteria. Do you have your grade 12? Do you have good communication skills? Do you have a driver's license? Are you able to work shifts? Yeah. The responsibility and duty is to answer those questions in your CV and in your cover letter.
Okay.
And so your cover letter is the marketing tool which, let's say I'm the company, you sent it to me, I'm ticking the boxes. Okay, good, you said grade 12. Oh, good, you said you can communicate well. Good, you're saying that you've worked before working shifts and public holidays in your particular, so you are open to doing that. But let's say I've received 100, or severely, it could be very aggressive. Let's say I've received 500 CVs. I have to do due diligence and look through all of those CVs and tick the boxes. Then those have to be maybe narrowed down to maybe 10 people who have to be interviewed. But let's say I'm hitting a point where I've got 15 CVs that look good. Now I'm going, now where's the upsell? Let me look at these cover letters to see. So if you're saying I'm good at what I do and I'm professional at what I do and I'm responsible and hardworking, and you say in your cover letter, because of that culture, I got an Employee of the Month award. Because of that culture, when my manager went on holiday for a week, I was given the responsibility of leading a project.
Yes.
Or I was given the responsibility of acting as a supervisor or acting manager in that department. What you're then doing is you are saying to that person who's reading that is you are responsible. You are able to take responsibility and manage yourself and manage other people. And South Africans, I've seen this in many CVs I've reviewed. Everybody says they're hardworking and trustworthy. It's wonderful to be able to express that vocabulary, but you need to say, how are you hardworking and trustworthy? So let's revisit that again. I'm hardworking and trustworthy, and because of that culture, let's say you're managing a retail store, you're a supervisor, I'm hardworking and trustworthy, and because of that, my manager gave me the responsibility of closing off the shift, doing the cash up, and closing the store at the end of the day on the Saturday.
Wow.
It's not just about saying, I'm this and this and this, but we need to say, I have these skills, and this is how I realize them, or this is how I have been recognized by management or my peers to be able to lead in that position.
Yeah.
So upsell, and don't lie.
So it means that is part of communication.
Very much so. So communication is not just communication means that if you know that in your particular industry that you're going to be using more than one language. So we know South Africa, we celebrate 11 different languages. So an example is I've got a strong background in the hospitality trade. I also worked in the oil industry, and logically entrepreneurship is in that particular conversation and training and development. But one of the things I did when I was in the hospitality trade or in the hotel industry was I knew that I was going to be dealing with guests and working on the front desk of the hotel. I was going to be dealing with guests who spoke Afrikaans. English is my first language, but how do I do justice to myself in providing service? So even though Afrikaans is my second language, and one of the things with life, and we know this, if you don't use it, you lose it. So because I wasn't using Afrikaans often, being able to provide quality service in Afrikaans, I needed to brush up on that. So what did I do? I went back to the library. I started by taking children's books out in Afrikaans, starting to build the comfort with the language once again, then started taking out favorite authors like Delane Mathieu, etc. And then also because I really enjoy movies and I enjoy rugby, what I was doing was I was buying Afrikaans newspapers to read the breakdown of those movies in sport, so then I'd become more comfortable and fluent with the language.
Wow.
So again, what you're doing is you're in a job, jobs are about, and work is about providing service, and so how do you provide better service and remain competitive? So what you need to do is you need to brush up on the skills that are relevant. And so therefore in context of communication, so that I could communicate more effectively professionally, I needed to brush up on my Afrikaans. So there's communication as in verbally, you and I are exchanging ideas and information. There's communication of, I'm sending an email, is professional. The mistake people are doing now, or big mistake people are making now, is they become so comfortable communicating informally on WhatsApp that they bring that culture into emails. So what has to be done is you then have to get people to be brushed up on professional English and how to communicate effectively on an email. And then logically, there is what are you communicating in context of your brand? What are you putting out there on social media? Even so far, I mean, if you look at the space that I'm in context of communication, what I'm doing right now is I'm communicating to you indirectly what I'm all about. So I'm a professional, I'm a director of American Corner Cape Town, I'm a coach, but I choose not to wear suits except for formal occasions. One of the things that my colleagues know, and those who engage with me know, is in most cases if I'm wearing a shirt, I'm rolling up my sleeves. Why? Because I'm showing I'm formally yet informally smart casual dressed.
Yeah.
Right? But with me, when I've got my sleeves rolled up, it's a message to my self-communication in context of is that I'm working, I'm here to serve.
Yeah.
I'm rolling up my sleeves. We're gonna do the job. And part of that communication is I don't want to be too formal, because to be able to serve you and assist you and coach you and educate you, I must also have you relaxed.
Yes.
And part of that conversation also evolves into a positioning of that we will look at building your brand in context of your image after the fact if need be. But we need to start with the baby steps first.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mike. In your one of the modules, it says that be your brand for your career. Can you explain to our viewers at home what is to be your brand in your career?
So, the individual, every individual has an image. Okay, so let's take a step back and say brand is your image. And so therefore, what you have to understand is celebrities have what is called a public relations team, which are managing their interviews, setting up the interviews for the radio shows, for maybe that's interviews for a magazine, maybe for a podcast, etc. And what they have to do is these pictures are being taken of them, these interviews being done, it's been put onto YouTube, onto television, etc. And what you're looking at is that person is projecting an image, a brand. And what you need to understand is that if a simple example would be that you've been asked to forward a professional picture of yourself for the job that you're applying for. Now, unless they're asking for a picture of you when you're applying for a position, you don't usually send one. But if you're going to be sending a picture, it's called what is called a headshot, which means a headshot is right there, almost like your ID photo, a headshot, right? But let's say, for example, and I've seen this, where a person decides they're going to put on their Sunday best, look at Sunday best in the photograph. Somebody takes a photograph of them, but what happens is they decide to take that photograph in the kitchen. And if you look behind them, you see lots of pots and pans on the shelf. Now, that's not really you may be coming across, wow, you really look impressive, neat, tidy, professional in your Sunday best, in your suit, in your dress, etc., etc. But we need to look at what is behind us in the shot, because everything is about storytelling. And you need to understand that you want to be telling a professional story. And so everything has to be looked at in context of the image, of what you're saying, what you're not saying. And a very simple, slightly controversial subject is we will use love of music. Now, I'm passionate about music, and a lot of people, don't know that I'm a big fan of hip-hop music. If you're looking at the early days like NWA, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, now I really love that music. But you won't find me putting those lyrics and that particular culture on my social media. That is my personal choice of celebration of music. I love jazz, I love soul and funk, Earth, Wind and Fire, etc. But I also like the early days of hip-hop. But if you look at some of the statements that those individuals put forward in context of the culture of gangster rap, that particular brand culture is not healthy in the way they communicate about women. Now, picture this. Say I'm applying for a position
Yes.
in a company that is going to be motivating a culture of endorsing and strengthening the culture of women leadership in business and in community.
Yeah.
But then they decide to check my social media and they go, oh, look, Mike actually put this lyrics in here and it's actually demeaning to women. So can we have Mike representing an empowered conversation for women and leadership if this is what he's saying? And that's the challenge that people find, is that they allow their personal lives to bleed over into their professional lives. And what that basically means is that sometimes you have to end up cleaning up your Facebook. Because, and some people are really emotionally challenged to do that because they feel it's a betrayal of who they are in their core beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's the delicate conversation that has to be happening. If you look at the culture of South Africa at this moment in time, by law, we can sell cigarettes to individuals who are over the age of 18. But by law, we don't do any advertising for cigarettes. We're not allowed to put it on television, in the movie theaters for advertising, or even billboards. By law, we're not allowed to do that.
Yes.
But let's say, for example, you have lots of pictures of you smoking on Facebook, cigarettes, right? And let's say you're looking for a job with a company that sells cigarettes, then that would endorse that conversation. To each their own. If you choose to want to smoke, be welcome to smoke. But understand that it's your positioning on that particular culture that could either impact on your job seeking for the better or for the worse.
Wow.
Because if you look at it realistically, and I'm not upselling or downselling the culture of cigarettes, but if you must look at the price of a packet of cigarettes now, if you're buying, you're probably paying something like maybe 50 Rand for a packet of cigarettes. Now, if you are economically challenged, and especially during this time of COVID-19, you have to look at prioritization of what you're doing. I know that's kind of skirting a little bit off the subject matter, but let's say that you're looking for work, you are in dire straits, you need to pay your bills, etc., etc. But then there's a picture of you on Facebook, which maybe got taken 2 or 3 days back, and you're sitting with a packet of cigarettes and you're smoking. Now the person who looks at it going, yeah, you told me that you're desperate to find work, and you're struggling to pay your rent, put the food in your stomach and the roof over your head, but you're spending 50 Rand on a packet of cigarettes. Now, as a citizen, you're welcome to that choice. But as a professional, and again, you're choosing, but what you just communicated maybe in the interview about that you're desperate, but where's your prioritization?
Yeah.
Now again, each citizen will choose, but in context of your professional brand communication, what you're putting out there, people look and go, oh, okay. So you're saying one thing, but you're showing another
thing.
And that is the delicate balance of managing brand, because a lot of people don't think of themselves as a brand. And another example would be, if you look at the culture of when I was in the hospitality industry, in the hotel industry, when I worked in a hotel in Camps Bay, that particular culture, it was classified as a beach hotel. So because we were in a beach hotel, we wore in winter, we wore blue shirts and khaki pants and brown shoes, right?
Okay.
In summer, we wore t-shirts, either like a golfing t-shirt, or we wore a sleeve, a short sleeve. But now if you were to look at some of the hotels on the waterfront, which are your 5-star, so that hotel was a 5-star beach hotel. But if you look at a 5-star hotel on the waterfront, then because they have a particular brand and image, all their staff and male staff, like for example, they wore suits, So the brand and the culture is different in different ecosystems. And again, it's how you position yourself, how you communicate that brand, where you are with your priorities, where's your focus.
Yes.
And also part of your communication of your brand could also be on your CV, and even on your social media. You could be volunteering maybe you're volunteering in a library, maybe you are volunteering at your local fire station, so that you can actually be taught first aid skills, so that you can help them on certain levels with certain things. Sometimes you can actually volunteer at let's say a South African police station, where you are assisting them, and they put you through training to manage people who have emotional trauma, and you're volunteering. Or you could even be volunteering at your local church, synagogue, or mosque. There's various ways to volunteer. And what does that mean if you're showing on your CV that you volunteer? Volunteer is you showing that you care about your society, you care about serving, you care about helping to build a healthier community. There's lots of things that people are saying indirectly and directly, and part of this coaching process with employment readiness is to get people to understand what they're saying, why they're saying it, or are you saying it in a too aggressive way, or you're saying it too softly, and we need you to celebrate your knowledge, your education, your intelligence, your creativity.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mike. I'll go to the next question. It says, job interview preparation. What can you say to the viewers at home? As you already mentioned, all CVs, cover letters, branding, and communication. And then now, when you prepare for job interview.
Now, a lot of people practice the culture of the following. When sometimes you were in school, be it primary school or high school, and let's say you had a certain culture and you were writing a test the next day, then you would study the night before.
Yeah.
I was one of those people.
I can relate to.
Right? But there were students I knew that I was at primary school and high school with, was their parents or they themselves chose to have a culture at home where they would study, besides doing your homework, but they would study a little bit every day.
Yes.
So that by the time you got to writing the exam or test, then there was a momentum built up of knowledge and information and articulation with the information. Now, when you're looking for a job, preparing for a job interview, which is, let's say, happening today being, let's say, Friday, and let's say you have the interview on Monday, reading through your CV today and tomorrow and the next day for that interview on Monday is good practice. But as soon as you realize that you are unemployed or you're in career transition and you're going to be looking for another position, another job, another opportunity to help to develop financial and economic strength, then what you should have been doing is, as soon as you started sending out applications for their particular jobs, then you really should have started preparing for the interview. So a lot of people kind of practice the culture of, I'm going to be applying for this position, and so, I got the interview. And the scary part, we've seen this with many people, is because they are in financial dire straits and they are applying for lots of jobs. So they're sending the CV out to many organizations and companies. They're not keeping a list of where they've sent it to. So they get a phone call and they say, you're being invited to this interview. But let's say now you applied to the city of Cape Town and you've applied to, say, 12 departments. Now, which department is calling you for the interview? And you don't have the courage to ask that. They just say, reporting to this office on this day at this time for that interview. Part of that mock interview process is also preparing them for the possibility of that an interview can happen telephonically. Because especially now with COVID-19, and this is also practice, it's just been shifting over the last couple of years to people doing interviews via Zoom and Skype. So it's important for that candidate then to become comfortable with the process, to understand the process and the technology. You always see this now with comedy shows is that they joke about somebody forgot to switch, either to switch off or switch on the mute button. So like, actually this happened to me in a meeting yesterday or the day before, where I was talking and then my colleagues are signaling me on Zoom that I need to unmute.
Yes.
And so it's becoming comfortable with the technology and understanding what signals are being, or icons are reflecting on your screen, so that you know whether you're on mute or not. So it's the becoming comfortable with the practice of the culture, because sometimes what happens, and this I've seen with the culture of call centers, is you apply for a position, you've maybe done the online application, you've sent your CV in, and then what they do is they're phoning you. And a lot of people don't realize that the call center, that's actually the first part of the interview. The interview's been broken down into more than one section. So the first part of the interview is to actually hear how you communicate. So, good afternoon, Mike speaking, how can I help?
Yes.
Oh, that's very professional, that's what we want to hear. Asking a few questions so they can hear how you communicate, how you articulate, your choice of words, you know. South Africans, or Cape Townians in particular, are actually kind of prioritized, because there's almost like a culture within Cape Town where they say that South African or Cape Townians, a lot of their accents are neutral, so then you can actually communicate to customers who are overseas, and the accent is easy on the ear. So you may actually be called to actually hear that person who's looking to recruit is actually listening to, are you communicating clearly? Are you projecting your voice? One of the exercises that was done for me once was when I was in a job interview, was I was deliberately seated at a large table. There were 5 people on the panel of the interview, and the culture they were trying to look at, or the practice they were actually partaking in, was because you were seated at the end of this table and it was like maybe 3 meters from them, they wanted to see if I could project my voice and communicate clearly. Because some individuals would actually feel intimidated sitting across, talking to 5 people, and then they're in a large room. And how do you manage yourself when you are in a position where you could look at an interview also as a mini stress exercise? How do you manage yourself when you are, because most people stress before they go for an interview. And so part of that process of being in the interview is self-management, professional self-management. And so these are the little sort of cultures and ideas that we look at, and we kind of look for little tricks to help you to manage the nerves, to project your voice when you are in conversation and in articulation.
Wow.
And sometimes it's small things like courtesy, good afternoon, good morning, good day, you know. When you, let's say you're on site and you're going to an interview and you're walking into that room and there's a panel of individuals or even one person who's interviewing you, and then you just choose to sit down. Courtesy would be to wait, to be invited to sit down.
Yes.
Because when you're going for an interview, you are a guest, and therefore you have to conduct yourself with the etiquette and courtesy of being a guest and nurturing that culture of respect.
Wow. Viewers at home, I hope you are learning a lot, because me too, I'm learning a lot. But I'm sure viewers, they want to know, what is Mike do when he's out of work, when he's not busy at work, in his fun time?
I'm always busy.
In his fun time.
Okay. So to decompress. And one of the interview questions you could actually be asked is, how do you manage stress? How do you choose to relax? So music is very important to me. I'm listening to music almost all of the time. I love reading. In context of exercise, I probably 6 days a week I commit 20 to 30 minutes of my time for exercise, and most of the time is I walk. I try to do a minimum of 3 kilometers a day walking, and this is one of the things I've been talking to my friends about. Is it doesn't mean because we're in lockdown that you can't walk at home. If you count your steps in your home and you're walking down a passage, or you're on your stoop or wherever, or in your yard, count your steps per meter. 1,000 steps is 1 kilometer. Walk up and down. It's good exercise. So that, and I love movies, and so that to me is very important. If you're going to be managing a very demanding professional commitment of your energy, your time, then taking downtime to relax and decompress is important. And one thing I do, which is very important, is getting enough time to sleep. Everybody's sleeping patterns are different, but for me to function, I need about 8 hours of sleep. So I make sure that I'm eating correctly, I'm sleeping, getting enough rest, and on the subject of it's making sure you're drinking enough water.
Yes.
Hydrating is very important in context of your process, because if you're not getting enough water or liquids into your body, it actually impacts on your concentration, and that impacts on your interview or on your in your daily duties when you are working. So there's these all little things that you have to look at. You have to manage yourself, headspace, heart space, manage your physical health. All of those factors come into play. And like I said, part of decompressing, music, reading, sleeping, exercise, and also importantly, like I talked to some of my friends who are very strict with their fitness, is you must have a cheat day. A cheat day means, 6 days a week you're eating healthy, and then one day you must have a burger. Give yourself a break.
Wow, thank you so much, Mike. I think this is my second last question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What is your favorite color?
So blue is one of my favorite colors.
Blue.
Yeah, I like blue. You can see blue. You can see blue.
Okay.
You can see blue. Almost
Yeah.
blue. Great.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Do you have any last words for our viewers at home? As people are looking for jobs, others are in jobs, but I think this conversation, it helps both sides, those who are unemployed and then those who are employed. As you be coming again at NJ Talk Show, we are waiting maybe for another day where you will be teaching and then just telling people at home more and more about mentoring, coaching into small businesses as well. So can you just give them the last words at home to encourage them or something?
Yeah. So what's important is to keep yourself educated and informed. Look at your passions. Look at where you're putting your energy. Look at your thought culture, because that will actually help to inform you in context of your career, the space where you are best be able to realize your skills, your intelligence, your creativity. And my big concern is also that a lot of people are positioning themselves for employment opportunities that may become extinct. And so if you look at where we are now, it's now 2021. If you look at 2021 and we go back 5 years to 2016, coding and web design is now part of our general vocabulary in the world of work. But here's the punchline. Before that, it was almost like a sort of field it was the people who studied IT. But now what you have is you have individuals and citizens who are maybe 10, 12 years old, and they actually, because they're doing coding at school, or they taught themselves how to code, what they're doing is they're creating their own apps, and then what they're doing is that they're generating income from that. But a lot of people look at coding as, wow, it's a quick, easy way to make money. But the whole thing, what people don't know about coding is that coding is a discipline. You must be kind of be able to think logically and take leaps of imagination. And also, the inclination to be good at maths is very important. And so, those are the kind of things that you need to look at is, if you're passionate about something, how, and you have certain cultures and behaviors, is how can that be realized to create income? So you could go into entrepreneurship and small business, or you can say, how do I realize, maybe you say, I'm not really sure where to find work, but I love working with people. I love working with animals. I love making a difference. And then you go, oh wait, maybe I can volunteer at the SPCA or the PDSA, and maybe I volunteer on a Saturday, and maybe Monday to Friday I'm working a normal routine job in a retail store, but I'm slowly building up money for my first year of studies. Then maybe I want to become a vet. Maybe I want to study animal husbandry. Maybe I want to, possibly get into farming. Who knows? But there's different ways of articulating and expressing your intelligence, and saying, this is who I am, and this is how I can best express myself in my life journey, so that I can also, in my adventure of work and career and business, also generate income.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mike. If viewers, I think my last question is, when viewers want to get hold of you, how do they get
Yeah,
Mike
so what
Klink?
the best way to do it is to actually, you can email info@americanspaces,
Okay.
za.org. So hopefully what you'll do is, with this particular show, you can put that little info onto the YouTube channel, and then people are welcome to email me to give them CV review, cover letter review, to look at coaching for employment readiness. The service is at no cost, but the important culture is that we will work together to help you to take the next steps. I don't work for people, I work with people. And I take the candidates who come into my ecosystem for professional mentorship, guiding and training, is I take them as they're adults, and they're choosing to upskill themselves. And if I give them homework and they choose not to do it, that is their choice. But if you want to grow, you have to put in the work.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming at NJ Talk Show. Viewers at home, you can reach out to Mike Klink at info@americanspacesza.org. Be welcome to follow Facebook page American Corner Cape Town. That is where you will find more of the programs that they do at American Corner. Thank you so much for spending time and watching this video and be part of NJ Talk Show. You know what to do the right thing. You subscribe if you're not, and then you like, share and comment. NJ Talk Show YouTube channel. Thank you.